So the mastermind behind multiple attacks on PlayStation Network and Xbox Live has been sentenced to 2 years in jail in the UK. His name was Adam Mudd, who, if you spell his last name backwards, is dumb, just pointing that out. He was the guy behind the attacks, and to tell the truth, he sort of looks like you probably imagined he would. He, at the age of 16, created a program called Titanium Stressor, which the purpose of this was to attack websites using DDoS. And so he would sell this tool to people who would carry out the attacks. He also carried out hundreds of attacks himself, including knocking off Cambridge University. Now, The Guardian and a lot of other sites are calling this hacking, and they're saying the hacker was sentenced to 2 years in jail. But as far as what I've read, there's no hacking in this story. It has to do with DDoSing. And so to understand what that is, if you go to visit a website, there is a server that's hosting that website. And so you're getting information from that server, and you and that server are kind of talking back and forth. The computers are. And so you may have seen that sometimes people will link articles, and if it's a really popular article and so many people are trying to click that article at one time, then you may notice that the site either won't load or it'll be extremely slow, and that's because the server can't handle all the connections coming into it. And that's basically what DDoSing is that these servers are being flooded with information. And sometimes it's just garbage information, but it's just to keep the server busy. And so these tools may be it could be even using your own computer at home. Like your computer may have a Trojan or malware or something on it that allows these other attackers to use it to flood all these different IPs. And so it's hard to really track down. But that's basically what a DDoS attack is just flooding a server to keep it busy. And so you might remember a few years ago where there were times whenever Xbox Live was being hit, and especially PlayStation Network, both of those having trouble staying up because they were constantly being DDoSed. And so this was a major attack, and these groups were using tools like this guy developed in order to carry it out. And again, these weren't the only major companies that were hit. They said more than 100,000 people who bought access to this tool, and they ended up carrying out over 500,000 different attacks on different IPs. But this guy is now 20. He started developing this system whenever he was 16. And there's reports that in that small window frame, he made almost $500,000 by selling access to this tool. So people would pay to use this system in order to attack different websites. And so for like $300, you could get an attack that would last for 30,000 seconds on an IP of your choice. But it doesn't say whether or not the government or whoever is going to get that money back. So to be honest, if the guy ends up walking out of jail after 2 years and he goes home to $500,000, I mean, that really doesn't actually sound like too bad of a deal. And you would think for the crime that he committed that you would be doing more than 2 years. But I guess the story here is that if you want to go and do something like this, UK is the place to go because you're going to get off pretty easy. And while no doubt some people will say, well, Dragon, that's a little harsh. I mean, he really didn't do nothing that bad. He just took some websites off for a few hours or minutes or however long it was. But the fact is, if you're running a business and your business relies on the internet and it gets knocked off, you're losing money. And then you're losing money to all these hundreds or thousands of employees that you're paying. And then you're also pissing off the customers who are trying to enjoy that access as well. And so some of these companies, they testified that they spent thousands of dollars investigating the attacks, and then of course had to do other things to try to prevent it in the future, which of course is always good for everybody, but it still costs a lot of people a lot of money. But the guy is probably going to have it easy after he gets out of jail, after his 2-year stint is done, because especially if he gets out and he still has the money that he made, but also he's already getting job offers from companies who want him to put his skills to work for good. So post below, do you think 2 years is too easy for the crime? That does it for me, the Red Dragon. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.